Hi everyone, and welcome to this session. We have a set of 3 sessions like last week, and I hope you had a wonderful time last week, which I'm sure is going to encourage you to attend these sessions today with real enthusiasm. The first session is going to be by Father Divya Paul, who spoke to us last week on how do we avoid loneliness or how do we make use of these times productively. This week, Father Divya Paul is going to talk to us on how do we avoid a COVID burnout, especially during these times. And I think it's going to be really useful for all of us. The second session is on apologetics, like last week, where we spoke last week about the history of doctrines. And this week, Father is going to be covering on dogmas and what do they mean, which I think is going to be really useful. The third session, continuing from the introduction to the book of Revelations, Father Shabu is going to delineate to us on the different concepts that are present in the book of Revelations. So hence this session that we planned for you is definitely information packed but also really useful for you. And so I invite you firstly to subscribe to our channel and also watch the entire video. You need not watch it at one stretch, but I think over a period of time, if you take, I think this video would definitely be a real source of information and knowledge for all of us. Hope you have a wonderful time watching. God bless.
I want to share a few thoughts and a few tips about how to prevent a lockdown burnout during COVID-19. Now, what exactly classifies as burnout? We use this word quite a bit, particularly in the corporate sector. Now, the World Health Organization, the WHO, included burnout in its international classification of diseases, describing 3 key symptoms. 1, experiencing feelings of exhaustion. 2, feeling negative towards one's job or what one's doing. 3rd, reduced productivity and effectiveness professionally. Now, there are some common ways in which you can know if you have a burnout. But the question before anything else is, can you experience a burnout when you're actually not doing a thing? This was a question a friend of mine asked me just a few days back. He said, I'm feeling a burnout. I said, a burnout? And he said, yeah, a burnout from doing nothing. And I laughed out loud and he said, Father Paul, it's true. That's how I'm feeling. I loved it when I was busy and worked my butt off. But now I've got nothing to do and I'm exhausted all the time. Now, it is possible that you can feel a burnout from not having a whole lot to do during this lockdown. Now, there are some common ways to know if you have a burnout. If you're feeling exhausted no matter how much sleep you get, resulting in fatigue and insomnia. If you're lacking motivation to even get out of bed in the morning or to have your breakfast or to do the little chores around the house. Or if you're lashing out at others and you're showing increased irritability and frustration. If you're lacking inspiration and creativity, particularly if you're a creative person, to start projects or to complete projects that you are engaged in. If you're losing confidence in your academic or in your professional abilities. If it's becoming increasingly difficult for you to meet important and significant deadlines. If you're experiencing increased pain and tension in your body, which can be manifested as headaches and sore muscle aches or jaw tension, this could all indicate a burnout. Higher frequency of illness due to stress and exhaustion. Also, if there is an increase in bad habits such as overeating or staying up too late or nail biting or any other habit you tend to acquire when you're stressed or are not taking care of yourself. The inability to concentrate on schoolwork or lectures online. If you're feeling bored, uninterested in any aspect of life, whether it's at home or about your friends or family or areas of leisure that you used to enjoy tremendously, and if you're feeling anxious or depressed, now these are all signs of what we call burnout. Now, you could feel burnout for a whole lot of reasons, like I said. I just want to offer you some life tips to get over this burnout that we're talking about. The first thing, like always, exercise and get some fresh air. Now, most of us are able to go out if it's something, that allows us, if we are not in a danger zone or in a red zone. Now, it's important for us to get some exercise and some fresh air, whether it's an early morning walk or going up to the terrace and breathing in some fresh air. Secondly, most importantly, appreciate the little things. Be grateful. Try to look for positives. If you notice little things each day that are good, this will help you get focused on the bigger picture and life outside. Like a little baby's laughter or a little delicious treat that your mom or your spouse prepares for you. Appreciate the little things of life. Do something, thirdly, that you love each day. If you can do just one thing that you love each day, it will give you tremendous pleasure as well as perspective. It might be just like picking up a guitar and singing a song as you strum away. Or it could be like picking up a piece of paper and sketching something. Do something you love each day. Limit the booze. Limit the booze. Fourthly, it's easy to get into a rut of daily drinking and increased drinking, tempting as it might be because you have nothing much to do. Trust me, alcohol does not help. It may be easy, but try changing your routine. Do something else instead. Go for a walk, exercise, play music, listen to music. And if you have to drink very, very little. Next, sleep. A sober, early night sleep will help you when you're experiencing stress and anxiety. It really is the best medicine. I would recommend before you go to bed to relax your body a little bit. One of the ways to do it is to breathe deep a few times, to tense up your muscles and to relax them. A simple exercise like squeezing your thumb as hard as you can and letting it into its position, relaxing it gently and feeling the tension and the release of it could help you. Try these before you go to bed. Try different parts of the body. Most importantly, again, smile and laugh. It's well known that the act of smiling and laughing can send messages to your brain that create chemical reactions which make you feel happy. So even if you're not actually laughing, fake it till you feel it. Watch comedy shows, sitcoms that make you laugh. Watch movies that get you rip-roaring laughing. Well, if you can't do any of that, like I always kid around with my students, I tell them, take a pencil or a pen and stick it between your teeth and hold it for 10 minutes. Apparently your brain would start to figure out that you are smiling because of the formation of your muscles, and it will trigger and create the chemical reactions to make you feel good. Give it a shot. Most importantly, get real. Be realistic. Now, after such an unprecedented period of this pandemic, it's time for us to do the little things around. This is a time when we could clean up our act, acquire new skills, Do the things that we have postponed. Read the book that we always wanted to read. Watched a movie that we thought we would watch with friends but never did. These are things that you can do. The act of connecting with people is another beautiful way that will help you broaden your horizons. Call up that person that you always wanted to chat but never did. Call up that friend or acquaintance in school or college that you wished you could befriend, but you got busy because of something else. Last but not the least, be kind, and start by being kind to yourself. Acknowledge that this is a really difficult time or difficult situation at hand. It's understandable to feel exhausted, to be disillusioned, to be scared, and that you are feeling a whole lot of emotions that you just can't understand why and where and how they creep up into you. Check in with yourself to ensure these feelings don't tip over and become overwhelming. And if you think they are, then don't be afraid to talk to a colleague or a friend or to a trusted adult or to seek professional help. Help is available. It is. Now, to get to the practical bit of how to break this lockdown jitter. How to make time for rest and relaxation. Now, to ensure that there is sufficient time, allocate for yourself time for rest and recovery. I'm going to present to you an acronym, REST, R-E-S-T, borrowed from somewhere along the line and sometime where I was reading a book. Now, what does this REST mean? REST stands for R, retreat, E, eat, S, sleep, and T, treat. Write it down in block letters and stick it up somewhere prominent where you can see. Now, what are these four meant to be? Now, R for retreat is to relax. To retreat is the equivalent of a tennis player that we often watch, on television, where between the sets, the tennis player puts a towel over his head and sits down. This is a moment for these professionals to disengage from the world around them, from the screaming and the shouting of the fans and foes alike, and the match that was physically engaging. Disengage from the world around you. This is a good thing to do. Retreat from everything that overwhelms you. The second alphabet, E, stands for eat healthfully. A diet that is high in sugar, carbohydrate, and with high meat and dairy product consumption will create more acidity in your body, pushing a whole lot of things that you don't desire about you. Now, for the most part, we should be eating green and bright colored vegetables according to nutritionists. Fruits, nuts, fish, meat twice a week, rice, wholemeal, bread, and good quality dark chocolate are good, they tell us. Now, eat healthy. Eat a good breakfast, a good lunch, and a light dinner. And in between, snack healthy food like fruits. S stands for sleep. Now, sleep is the most powerful performance enhancer we have. More vital for the brain function and for good decision making than any waking activity available to us. For most people, the need is between 7 to 9 hours. Now, it's not a bad idea to take power naps, like going to sleep for 30 minutes sometime in the afternoon, or catching a 10-minute quiet time where you flop your head on your desk and rest it out. Now, these are good. Creating a sleep protocol with a wind down strategy and using techniques such as sequential relaxation that I talked about Deep breathing, tensing and relaxing your muscles can help you fall asleep. If you have the time, now work on establishing good sleep habits. The last one, T, stands for treat. There are two types of treat. Those that are nice to start, but to which we are mildly addicted probably, like sugar or alcohol being the main contenders, and those that are truly restorative to our health. Now keep the addictive treats to a minimum. Chocolates and sweets and candies and alcohol. Develop a habit of indulging in the latter. Good treats boost dopamine and serotonin. Think beyond food. Having something effortlessly and enjoyable, like read, watch or listen to a soap opera, TED Talks or a documentary series can be very uplifting. Whatever you really like enables you to reboot your dopamine levels. Keep that in mind. You can absolutely overcome anything that brings you down, particularly a burnout. This is the time to replenish ourselves with all the energy we need to live lives well. This lockdown will not last forever. COVID-19 is not here to stay forever, but these are good times given to us as a gift to make the best of it for our self-improvement. And that's exactly what we must do. So I wish you all the best in this endeavor. Stay well, stay relaxed, rest, R-E-S-T, and have a great day. God bless you.
Laudetur Jesus Christus. May the name of Jesus be blessed. In our last lesson, we spoke about the hierarchy of truths that exist in the Catholic Church and our response to them. One of such truths are the dogmas in the Catholic Church, about which I would like to explain in this session. Now, dogmas are truths either revealed by God or those that are integrally related to revelation that have been officially pronounced as such by the teaching magisterium. There are also some other theologians who would opine that revealed truths do become dogmas even when proposed by the Church through ordinary magisterium. If you would recall, we had spoken about the magisterium and the different ways in which the magisterium teaches in our last lesson. So generally, we could say that dogmas have got two aspects: revelation by God and authoritative teaching by the Church. Now, one of the questions that naturally come to our mind is, if dogmas are teaching that have been revealed by God or integrally related to revelation, how come a dogma gets defined in 1854 or 1950 and we still have to say that it's part of the revelation or integrally connected to it? And what about its doctrinal validity before that period? For this, we need to understand that all truths of the Catholic Church do not become defined as dogmas. For example, Trinity is one of the fundamental truths of the Catholic faith. Or Church's belief in the real and substantial presence of Christ in the Eucharist, or for that matter, the immortality of the soul. None of them have been officially defined as dogmas by any ecumenical councils or the ex cathedra statements of popes. Then why are some truths officially defined as dogmas and others not? For this, we need to know the history and reasons of the definition of these truths as dogmas. For example, the Christological dogma of the hypostatic union of Jesus, meaning to say Jesus is one person with two natures, gets defined at the Council of Chalcedon when some denied the divinity of Christ while others doubted his humanity. Or the dogma of Theotokos, Mary as Mother of God, gets defined at the Council of Ephesus when some tried to separate the human nature of Jesus from the divine nature of Jesus, threatening to divide the person of Christ. Or the dogma of the infallibility of the Pope gets defined in Vatican I due to an existing threat to the primacy of Peter and his successors, which always was a practice in the Catholic Church. Hence, through a definition of dogma, Church does not add anything new to the revelation. Instead, she picks up from what is available in the deposit of faith and interprets them through the assistance of the Holy Spirit for the benefit of the believing community. Accordingly, it is not, as some people think or accuse the Church of, that suddenly on a fine day in 1950 Pope Pius XII gets up and decides to proclaim the dogma of the Assumption of Mary into heaven. Now, what gives authority to the Church to teach in this manner? This is a belief that the gospel preached by the apostles is faithfully treasured in the Church as the deposit of faith. Secondly, the Church believes that the continued presence of the Holy Spirit in the Church, which makes these teachings valid and true, especially when it is taught definitively. That is why the Church believes that such teachings are also infallible. Now, another question that is often asked is, do dogmas change over a period of time? It's quite natural to think that as human mind develops or as understanding of the world grows, changes are bound to happen in all knowledge. As a result, there are people who argue that dogmas also need to get adapted with the new developments in human sciences or science of the world. The Church is not opposed to this idea. For example, the truths contained in the Creed have been developed further in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Nevertheless, the Church believes that since dogmas are part of the deposit of faith and the author of it is God Himself, there cannot be a fundamental change in the meaning of the dogmas. Thus, the Church speaks of an organic development, meaning to say, just like when a seed becomes a tree. Though the manifestations change, the essence remains to be the same. In a similar fashion, though a growth in the understanding of the dogmas take place over a time, there cannot be a departure from the real meaning once the dogma is defined. Dear friends, there are a lot of people who feel jittery when they hear the word dogma. But you can't play a game of football with 22 having their own different rules, right? I believe as a person of church, we are blessed with such a teaching authority by which we are made known in our Christian life the convictions that we need to stand for, about which Vincent of Lerins in 450 would say, the teachings that all, everywhere and always believed. Therefore, to summarize, firstly, dogmas are official explanations by the Church on certain truths of faith and morals. Nevertheless, they do not give us any new revelation. Secondly, they are part of the definitive teaching of the Church, therefore are infallible and they are to be held definitively by all. And thirdly, there can be the development of dogma taking place over a period with regard to its understanding, not with regard to its meaning. Thanks for listening. May God bless us all.
Shalom friends. In our previous encounter, we mentioned that the book of Revelation is a resistance literature in order to tide over a crisis of a particular time. This was written down in the context of the ruthless persecution of the early church by the Roman authorities. And that's one of the reasons why there is a copious use of bizarre symbols, and the symbolic language that is used in the book of Revelation is to be decoded. So the prime intention of the author was to conceal the message from those to whom it was not addressed. In this case, the Roman authorities, the persecutors, the oppressors of the oppressed church. He also wanted to arouse the curiosity of those people for whom this book was written. Therefore, now in this session, we will try to decode some of the most important symbolic items repeatedly used in the book of Revelation. So this book can be divided symbolically, let us say, into colors, numbers, and objects. So this copious use of the symbols would preserve, first of all, the secrecy of the text, and secondly, it would arouse the intended emotional response. So we will see a symphony of sounds, color, and objects in this book of Revelation. The most colorful book of the entire body of the 73 books of the Bible is found in the book of Revelation. So first of all, the rainbow, and remember the color. So let's say the rainbow is mentioned only in the book of Revelation in the entire New Testament. So it stands for pure glory coming down from the divinity. So it stands for God and His throne. Color white stands for dignity, victory, purity. Therefore we find white cloud, white wool, white snow, white clothes, white stone. And even the dress of the martyrs and saints is in a white color. The red color instead stands for violence, bloodshed, war, and destruction. So we will come across the fiery red horse representing war, the red dragon who opposes Jesus the Messiah, and the full moon becoming like red like blood, robe dipped in blood, rivers and springs becoming blood, fire coming down from God, blood. The color black stands for tragedy, death, ignorance, and famine. But there is a reference to black horse that represents famine. Then there is scarlet and purple. It stands for imperial luxury, pomp, and lust. You know, purple was the most expensive dye in the ancient world. And so the great prostitute mentioned in chapter 17 of the book of Revelation is clad in purple and scarlet. There is also the color green. And when it is applied to plants and vegetables, it represents freshness and life. Instead, when it is pale green, like a pale horse, it stands for plague, disease and death. Let us now move from the color to the numbers. And I must tell you, among the ancients, the numbers were very, very, very important, because before the invention of Arabic numerals, letters, alphabets were also used for numbers. Even in our modern times, Roman numerals, to denote number 5, we write V. Or in order to denote number 10, we write X. Or C stands for 100. That's in our modern time. But ancients, they identified letters as numbers or numerals. So the most repeated number used in the book of Revelation is number 7. It is the perfect number among all the ancients of biblical times. It expresses totality. I would like to tell you that 54 times number 7 is used in the book of Revelation, and 43 times they are used explicitly. And the book of Revelation is addressed to 7 churches representing 7 lampstands. There are 7 spirits of God representing 7 lamps. The book is sealed with 7 seals. The Lamb stands before the throne with 7 eyes and 7 horns. There is also the dragon with the 7 heads, and on each there are 7 diadems. And next comes number 3. And number 3 too shares in the perfection of 7, used explicitly 31 times in the book of Revelation. It also stands for limited plurality. So there are also clusters of these 3 numbers, like a triple O, triple holy, standing for the divinity or a trinity. Number 4, that too shares in the perfection of 7, used 29 times in the book of Revelation explicitly. There are 4 angels at the 4 corners of the earth. There are 4 winds of heaven. And then there are references to several clusters of 4, like 4 attributes of the Lamb, 4 angels, etc. Let us come to number 12, which is the multiple of 3 into 4. That too shares in the perfection of 7, used 22 times. It represents often the new Israel, 12 apostles, old Israel, 12 tribes, 12 patriarchs, the tree of life with the 12 types of trees or fruits. So that stands the 12, representing mainly the Old Testament and New Testament. We have number 1000. I would like to tell you that all numbers with zeros indicate an unlimited number. Like 12,000 signifies perfect unlimited number. 144,000. For this use of 1000, you find 27 times in the book of Revelation. Then I would like to also mention the use of 1260 or 42, 3.5. What do they mean? Imperfect number or period of tribulation. It's a limited period, 1260 days or 42 weeks or 3.5 years. They stand for a limited period of time. So we move to the third part of our symbols. There's different objects. I would like to say briefly, very briefly. Okay, so for angel. Angel stands as a messenger or representative of God. So he is a mediator to explain the vision to the visionary. Clothing. Cloth stands for the person, a person's quality, a person's dignity or a conduct. You will find that expression, wash one's clothing in the blood of the Lamb, means to be purified through the martyrdom like Christ. Crown, they stand for kingship, sovereignty, victory. Eyes stands for vision, perception. Book of Revelation will say full of eyes or 7 eyes would mean one who sees everything. Horns also represent power. Stands for kingship or an institution. Another interesting thing is the use of hybrid, and they are weird creatures representing evil, ugly, repugnant, abnormal, and they are not part of a real God's creation. Name, very very important. Name in Semitic language is equivalent to the person, the quality of the person. Stars, they are extraordinary noble beings. Virgin is a faithful, dedicated person. Woman symbolizes a nation, a people, or a city. The coming encounters that we have, we will go into deeper explanation of individual chapters, and we will come to the individual explanation of these colors and numbers and objects. Till then, may the peace of the Lord be with you always.